Mayor live from the District of Columbia, where I am still stuck with a trial that's going on, a civil trial. I have to be very careful not to say anything. The jury is out. The judge has some pretty strict restrictions on what you can and cannot say, which we respect, and we will abide by. There'll be plenty of time. There'll be plenty of time. It's not any kind of permanent restriction on free speech. I might disagree to some extent with any kind of restriction on free speech, even during a trial. But look, people have different views of this, and that's not by any means the biggest problem that we got with what's going on in America right now, or in courts, or with First Amendment and amendments and Constitution. So let's just abide by it, and we'll got plenty of other things to talk about. I guess other things that are even more important. For example, the House today voted an official vote of an official vote. Now, let's be clear. It wasn't an impeachment. A lot of people are saying it was. It was a vote to authorize an impeachment investigation. Now, do you need such a vote? There's a question about that as to whether you don't or you do. There's much better to have it when you're in court battling out subpoenas. And I would think the first one may very well be Hunter Biden's, who today, within a few days, we should see him handcuffed and taken away, the way Peter Navarro was. And certainly arrested and prosecuted the way Stephen Navarro and Peter Navarro, rather, and Stephen Bannon were. If it doesn't happen, I don't know if we could add to the proof beyond any doubt of a double standard, two standards of justice, which, as you know, means no justice in this country. Hunter has become the poster boy for no justice in this country. While people have gone to jail, thousands of them over the last 4 or 5 years, as his crimes have become public for things that he did and got away with, it has become a mockery of our justice system. Here's the guy, Joe Biden, who passed the very strict drug laws back in the mid-90s. And he had a kid sitting next to him that was violating them much worse than many of the people he was putting away for, or he was seeing put away for enormous periods of time. And when it turned out to disproportionately affect the Black community, he did nothing to try to fix it. Nothing, not a thing. Look, I supported the bill, and probably I still do. Schumer and Biden, of course, have run away like the cowards they are. But if you're going to run away from it, if I had some power during that period of time, I would have tried to correct some of the situation regarding like marijuana. As a federal prosecutor, I never prosecuted marijuana cases. As a city mayor, I never put heavy emphasis on it in reducing crime. I was the city mayor who reduced more crime than any mayor in any city ever. That's ever. So I think I know what I'm talking about how to reduce crime. Biden's bill had a lot of good things in it, and it had some bad things in it. And his lack of brains sort of resulted in his not being able to make the modifications. And lots of people lingered in jail for much longer than they had to, while his son sitting next to him was doing cocaine at amounts that would be record-breaking, and taking pictures of himself smoking it and driving cars. A lot of these people weren't driving cars while they were high. That's pretty dangerous, by the way, driving a car when you're high, or possessing a gun. That one he got away with for 3 or 4 years until Republicans made such a fuss about it, and he blew a plea deal that he had to plead to it. So we do live in a Biden regime Biden state police system. We will see if they treat Hunter the way they treated Peter Navarro. Gee, are they going to show up like they did for Roger Stone with machine guns? Or um, well, what did he do? He was subpoenaed to testify before Congress. He said he would only testify publicly. Well, that's exactly the position that was taken by Steve Bannon. It's exactly what got him arrested, and it's exactly what got him convicted. It's on appeal now, but it got him convicted. Peter Navarro, under very similar circumstances, even though he had a claim of executive privilege, and quite a hefty one, actually, which Hunter doesn't have. Well, he wasn't just arrested; they put handcuffs on the guy. I mean, Peter's a really dangerous guy. He got a heavy record of being one of the most brilliant guys in the financial industry. Doesn't have a record of 30 years of drug abuse and collecting money from some of the most dangerous and horrible organized criminals in the world, like Hunter does. He hasn't associated with the chief spy of China and been in business with him. He hasn't taken money from top-level red Chinese enemies of America. Hasn't taken money from one of the biggest oligarchs and pro-Russian Ukrainians that, according at least to the FBI confidential source, who's highly credible, paid a $5 million bribe to him and a $5 million bribe to our sitting president. Hunter's gotten away with all these things. And this may seem rather small in comparison to it. Becomes very big because of the vicious and fascist way in which the Democrats treated Navarro. Now, frankly, I could tell you something. You're going to be shocked. I don't think Biden should be handcuffed and dragged in that way. I once had a situation when I was U.S. attorney in which a group of United States postal agents arrested a Wall Street guy, and they handcuffed him and brought him out. And it was alleged that I planned that as a deterrent. And there are people, when I deny it, that get mad at me. They say, you should have. I didn't plan it. It just happened. It happened because the guy refused to come with them until trading was over. He said he probably would have done it too. He said they were executing a search warrant like they did at my house. So, I've gone through it, right? And then they said, you've got to come with us. And he said, I'm not coming now. Come back after trading is over and I'll come with you. And they got a little huffy, and they put handcuffs on him and walked him out. New York Times made this into something that I had organized the day before to really send a message to Wall Street. And no matter how much I would deny it, everybody thought I was, lying because I didn't want to take the heat for it. Or a lot of people praised me for it. I don't know if it was the right thing or the wrong thing to do under that set of circumstances, particularly since he refused to come. But I mean, it just wasn't true. Not that matters anymore. I mean, I spent a couple of days figuring out that what's true doesn't matter. I mean, it isn't even close to what matters anymore. But it did matter because I don't think those are the ways you deter. I think the ways you deter is convicting them. I don't think, here's a very interesting thing that'll be probably in my book. I'm not sure the cover-up of the hard drive would have happened if Comey had been prosecuted for perjuring himself on a Pfizer affidavit involving a candidate for president of the United States. That was a very, very serious crime committed by James Comey in minimizing and falsely describing the Steele affidavit, the Steele dossier, the Steele piece of crap, which any intelligent human being would have realized by reading the first 5 sentences was a piece of crap. And then just a teeny bit of investigating would have told you that Hillary Clinton paid for it. And you go before a FISA judge, and 4 times you say it's verified. That's what the top of the affidavit says. And then you get, they start to feel like they can do anything when you do. But in any event, I don't think they're going to put Biden and Joe in handcuffs. There is a part of me that says that really is unfair because they did it to my friend Peter. And I don't know if they put Steve in handcuffs. I think Steve might have been allowed to surrender himself. I'll have to ask Steve that. I think if Steve had been in handcuffs, we would have all heard about it. Steve makes a lot of noise. Steve, by the way, is a pillar of our republic that we need right now. We're going to keep a republic because if it hasn't slipped away, it's slipping out of our hands. Tragic, tragic, tragic. So let's see what happens with this Biden thing. At a minimum, he should be, he have to go through the steps. They will have to now get the usual rule, if it still applies, is the speaker has to authorize this. I would assume Johnson will. And then his failure to appear. If he has done it already, then you just go to the U.S. attorney and ask that he be prosecuted. Very interesting. This is the U.S. attorney that sat on the Hunter Biden indictments and wouldn't do them, and covered up for Hunter Biden. Let's see if he covers up for Hunter again. I mean, he covered up the cases that Weiss brought to him, and he wouldn't cooperate. Obviously a Biden flunky, right? So we'll see what happens. The U.S. attorney didn't do his duty in that situation. Maybe he doesn't do his duty in this situation. This would be terribly public, though, and the comparisons between the two, I don't know, they would escape all of the crooked media, but there'd be a loud enough outcry that it'd have big impact. I mean, sometimes small little comparisons like this have more impact than some of the more significant things because they're complicated. They're complicated to work your way through. It's real simple. It's real simple. Bannon wouldn't testify because of executive privilege, and he was taken off. He was charged with a crime. Navarro similarly wouldn't testify, wouldn't follow their rules. He was handcuffed, taken away, and prosecuted. I asked to testify in public. I was told I couldn't, so I testified privately. Bernie Kerik asked to testify in public. He was told he couldn't. I'm sure they'd love to put me in jail. I mean, they've been dying to put me in jail for years, 3-4, since I broke the Hunter Biden story originally. But, you know, I testified. So the impeachment probe has now started officially. And the difference is that for courts, this becomes much more enforceable. And there's not a dispute as to whether this is in pursuance of an impeachment proceeding or not. When it's not officially authorized, I mean, I always felt some of those subpoenas were enforced. I always felt those subpoenas were invalid. As now I did as Trump's lawyer, but I continue to now in a more neutral position. So I'm glad they got it. This does not mean they're going to impeach him. And I have very strong feelings on both sides of that. One is the case is overwhelming enough to impeach anybody. The case was overwhelming enough 4 years ago to put him in prison for the rest of his life. The evidence was there before the hard drive. To do it right now before an election, I don't know, wouldn't it be doing exactly what the Democrats are doing to Trump, which is trying to deny the American people a chance to make a choice? I don't know. It's a tough one. It's a tough one. Justice says you should impeach him. Practicality says, and a certain other different kind of justice tells you shouldn't. It's tough question. The most interesting thing is Hunter playing the victim. This is all being done to Hunter because he's a drug addict. Who the hell cares? I mean, who, except on a human level where nobody should be a drug addict. That's nothing to do you're being a drug addict, Hunter. It has to do with your taking all that money from Mykola Zlochevsky. He was one of the most crooked men in Ukraine that everyone knew, including your Your father's vice president at the time, but your father's State Department knew he was crooked. It was one of the most crooked companies there. Not only did you go work for them, get a $5 million bribe, get your father a $5 million bribe, but you got paid $1 million a year for doing nothing. And you've gotten paid, we count about 50, 60 million for doing nothing. There's nothing you do. You don't go to court. You don't give financial advice. You don't write things. You don't bill things. You don't, but you do have a product, don't you? What do you have that's worth 40 or 50 million, Hunter? You got your dad. Buying a vice president or a senator, that can get you 40 to 50 million. Not the talents of a broken down, degenerate drug addict, which is what you are. And on that part, we feel sorry for you. But not the rest of what you're doing, because a lot of broken down drug addicts aren't selling out their country, are not putting their country in jeopardy, are not doing things because in accomplishing what you did with your father, you got him in the White House, and that guy's killed a lot of people in the White House. His being in the White House has meant death for a lot of people that would not have died had we had a competent human being there, and maybe an honest one. Instead, we have, at least as far as we can tell, and what we know of history, the biggest crook we've ever had in the White House. Obviously, the biggest liar. My goodness, the guy lies about everything. He says, MAGA Republicans ridiculed my struggle with addiction. I cannot remember anyone ridiculing his struggle with addiction, except maybe to raise the fact that the guy shouldn't be driving while smoking his crack pipe. If that's ridiculing it, well, then that's really for the benefit of keeping children and others alive. Children he never gave a damn about, because with minor children in the house, he'd run around with no clothes on, smoking crack, talking to prostitutes, and who the hell knows what else he was doing. So much so that a psychiatrist wanted him banned from the house. But they won't tell you that, nor will they show you that email. Nobody will show you that. That's off limits, because you're not supposed to know just how perverted the first family is. It's pretty perverted. Also, we got the typical mafia, organized criminal, career criminal shifting story. I used to keep tomorrow I'll draw it for you. I used to do it with my assistant when the story changed 4 or 5 times. Let's see if we can figure out how many times it's changed. First, I remember originally when I first brought the facts out in 2019, Joe's first thing was, I have never talked to my son or my family or my brothers at any time about any of their business, any of their foreign dealings or any of their business. We have a strict rule never to talk about it. I criticized that because I said that's a conflict in and of itself. Because how do you know if you have a conflict if you don't ask? So you may be granting a great big contract to a company that your son is working for. The appearance of that is a conflict of interest, not just the reality of it. Therefore, almost by definition, you're violating the conflict of interest rules by closing your eyes. And you're not fooling me, Jerko. I knew you knew everything about it. But I mean, that should have, if we had a president who had an inch of ethics, he'd have stopped you from that. But when Biden, a whole story about Burisma comes out and Hunter doing business with the crooked Ukrainian, what did the dishonest, unethical, slimy president do? Nothing. Because he's a dishonest, slimy president. His name is Prince Obama. A reasonably honest president would have called you in the office and say, cut it out, Joe. I put you in Ukraine to try to straighten out the corruption, not to make it worse. And you got your son working for the most corrupt guy in Ukraine, and then you might have given the president the same bull you gave the American people. Oh, I don't talk to my son about his foreign business. And I think Prince Obama from Chicago would have laughed at you. I think he would have laughed at you that you didn't know what your son was doing. I think he knew you were pulling the money in. Isn't that why we had all those 170 suspicious action reports that Treasury Department covered up? You don't think the press found out about that? You don't think, I mean, I know our CIA was run by Brennan, and Brennan is about as slimy a guy as you're going to meet. I personally can't stand the guy for writing that I was a Russian pawn because of the earmarks of Russian collusion on the hard drive, of which he didn't mention one earmark, because there are no earmarks, because he's just a damn liar. But Brennan had to know what you were doing. He knew what everybody was doing. They knew you were getting money from Zlochevsky. They knew Zlochevsky was a major criminal. Persona non grata he was exiled. And then the president lets his vice president's son do business with them and wants to straighten out Ukraine. Sounds like the definition of your two administrations: contradiction, or Orwellian double speak. We're the most honest administration in history. No, we're the most crooked administration in history, aren't we, Prince Obama? You spawned all this, and because you're like a prince, for what reason, I don't know, because you were one lousy president, you're getting away. You're really getting away with it. I mean, so far Biden's getting away with it, but at least they're zeroing in on it. So I have never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else. Now, how could that be? There have been rumors about all this foreign business for 5 years, 10 years. He never discussed it with anyone else. This is a statement he made when he was vice president or at the White House. I've never discussed with my son or my brother or anyone else anything having to do with their business, period. Then it becomes the president was never in business with his son. And then it was the president was not financially involved in Hunter's businesses. And now he wasn't involved. By the way, they're all untrue, and they're all disproven by about 20 pieces of evidence, the best one being his own telephone message to his son indicating that he had read the New York Times, and the New York Times was filled with all Hunter's business dealings in China, which means, Joe, you were knowledgeable about them because you acknowledged in your own voice, in a message, that you had read all about them. Didn't I just read you didn't know anything about them?
Let's play the clip. We have that call.
Oh, we got that call from Dopey? Okay.
Hey, pal, it's Dad. It's 8:15 on Wednesday night. If you get a chance, give me a call. Nothing urgent. Just want to talk to you. I thought the article, at least the thing online, it's going to be printed tomorrow in the Times, was good. I think it's clear. And anyway, if you get a chance, give me a call. I love you.
Well, I mean, the article is one story after another about Joe's dealings in China, about the very rich Chinese communist who wants to gain influence in the United States and is trying to buy American politicians. This is before he actually succeeded in buying the Bidens. This is the guy that Joe was involved in the 10% for the big guy. This is the guy that was at the very top of the Red Chinese Party. This is the guy that had working for him the chief spy of China, who was Joe's partner, by the way, all during the time classified documents were at his disposal at his house. Nothing like with Trump, much worse than Trump, but they indicted Trump, but not him. Joe read all about that, just acknowledged it to his son. Read it so carefully he could pronounce that he was in the clear, which sounds like a gangster expression, doesn't it? Don't worry, you're in the clear. But in any event, it puts the lie. I mean, I could give you 50 other examples of his lying about, number one, is not knowing about his son's business dealings. Number two, about his not being involved in it. It is just tragic that we have such a massive liar in the White House, and the damage that it's doing to us is way beyond just his own big crimes. He's Trump hands him a world at peace, and he's got a world in major wars with no plan for getting out. Well, we'll take a short break and we'll try to wrestle that one. Towers Foundation delivers on its promise to do good and never forget the sacrifices America's greatest heroes have made for us. Heroes who risked their lives to keep our communities and our country safe. Heroes like United States Marine Corps Captain and pilot John Jeremy Sachs. Captain Sachs sustained fatal injuries when his military aircraft crashed during training, killing him and 5 other service members. He's remembered by loved ones as courageous, brilliant, and devoted to his career, family, and friends. John is survived by his wife, Amber, who gave birth to their second daughter 3 months after his death. Tunnel to Towers paid the mortgage on the family home for Amber and their 2 daughters. The foundation has helped over 1,000 military and first responder families navigate the worst of times by removing the burden of a mortgage payment. Our nation's heroes and their families need your help now more than ever. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org. T2T.org. That's T, the number 2T.org. T2T.org. Please donate now.
No, you still got it.
This is Rudy Giuliani. We're back with you with America's Mayor Live. I have Dr. Maria with me. I wanted to change subjects for a moment. Then I want to make sure that we have the Biden clips, so we report to the American people just how our president looks like he's going into a ditch now. Do we have those?
We will momentarily.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I watched them before when I had some time, and I was thinking, how can this great nation be led by someone like that? Now, don't we need this microphone?
Yep.
Here we are.
All righty.
Now we got it.
I'll fix that. there.
Okay. While you're fixing that, I'll just bring people up to date on the Trump case. The Trump case has been stayed in the one in District of Columbia, brought by Hitman Smith, the guy who has the unbelievably unenviable, unethical record in the Justice Department.
Not only does he have an unethical record, it does now appear he's trying to interfere with an election process. For him to jump in, this is your field more than mine, so correct me if I'm wrong. He actually jumped a step to go right to the Supreme Court to get a very quick ruling, or at least he's asking for a quick ruling, whether Trump is immune or not, because he wants to push ahead and have charges against him, which to me is election interference. In all the polls, Bloomberg's polls, 6 of the swing states, Trump is beating Biden.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. Here's this one that you got from me before, just on the border.
Yeah, the Wall
handling the
Street
border.
Journal.
54% Trump, 24% Biden.
Yeah.
No, they're frightened out of their minds, and there's only one way they're going to keep him out, and they want to get him convicted because they're hoping that a conviction will change those polls.
Yep.
Some polls indicate it will. Some polls indicate it won't.
So what is this thing with the stay? What does that mean?
Well, the stay means that I don't know what it exactly means. I mean, she hasn't said she's going to change the trial date yet. She said he doesn't have to do any work on the case right now. But I mean, if she sticks with the trial date when the Supreme Court is finished, if the Supreme Court agrees with Smith, then he won't be. I don't know what it means. She should have put the trial date off.
Yeah, and then his team would have an argument, right? They were told not to do anything.
Yeah, but the question is, are the judges going to listen to it?
Do you feel like this, that the judge feels like the Supreme Court's going to say, yes, he had immunity as president? Maybe she's feeling that she believes the Supreme Court's going to lean that way. Therefore, don't do anything.
If he thought the Supreme Court were going to lean in the direction of immunity, he wouldn't rush it up there. He'd bring him to trial and do what he did to the governor of Virginia, convict him and then have him acquitted
Overruled, right?
You ruined his reputation, ruined his career.
He looks like a wackadoodle.
Hold back exculpatory evidence, commit almost every unethical act you could commit as a prosecutor, and then the guy gets the case reversed 9-0 by the Supreme Court, which is almost unheard of. And the Supreme Court itself is scratching its head. Where did the Justice Department find this crumb? And then the Attorney General, who's another slime, picks him. He picks a guy with this unethical record to go after Trump. What does that tell you? Are people so stupid not to realize? And the Democrats, he's indicted by 4 Democratic prosecutors.
It's been like that since the beginning, even with the fake Russian collusion impeachment. Bob Mueller was not of his right mind, and they picked him. They had to have known he was suffering from some kind of dementia.
Yeah.
In that way, Andrew Weissman could have more control, who's a definite radical left-wing lunatic.
Yeah,
who's known for lying.
And who is known also for cases getting reversed because of his unethical, seriously abusive conduct. You don't put people like this in cases involving presidents, and unless this is a fascist state, unless you also arrest people who are being arrested for trespass, and you arrest them with a squad that looks like something out of the SS. I mean, it's ridiculous for the FBI agents to be dressed up in military uniforms to arrest a white collar criminal.
It's almost ridiculous. And then poor Navarro, I'm sure you already spoke to this because I think you started out with Hunter Biden.
Yeah.
You know, poor Navarro, a man in his 70s, they take off of a plane, they handcuff him, shackle him, strip search him, humiliate him. Just so disrespectful.
So I do not think they should do that to Hunter. I don't believe in
no, it shouldn't be
two wrongs make a right.
I agree with you.
If we are going to change things in this country, we're going to show them how you used to do it and how to do it right.
Yep. That's why you're an upstanding man of integrity.
But these people are complete criminals. I mean, and I'm talking about the judges on the J6 cases, and I don't know what the hell has happened to them.
No.
Their ideology has interfered with the ability to be fair and rational. Well,
we should talk about the college presidents.
We should. In 1 minute, I just want to tell people that Biden is now telling Bibi that he should change his government to have a government that's in favor of 2 states. Oh, where the hell does he come off telling him to change his government?
Rudy, I briefly said to you, I always want to support my country. I love the United States of America. But on this situation, I'm with Israel over the Biden administration.
It's the Biden regime. It's not. I mean, I know he's the president, but it's not like you got to follow the president on every policy decision he makes just because you're an American. I mean, if a president if you followed Biden on every one of his decisions, you'd be a traitor.
Yeah, no, I mean outside of the country. I would love to say I support President Biden's administration on this, but Bibi. Take them down. Take them down. Send people to Qatar and get the head of the snake.
Yeah, that's also Biden's protecting the guys in Qatar.
Yeah,
who run Hamas, and he's telling him he's got to change his government so you have a 2-state solution. Can you imagine the Palestinian Authority being a country? It would be another terrorist supporting country. 78% of the people in Palestine support what Hamas did.
You know what?
They support killing babies, raping women, burning homes, doing all the things that Hamas did. They support it. And you want to make them a state, numbskull?
Well, we're hearing from the hostages, Palestinians hid them in their homes, burnt them with cigarette butts. That's what they did to some of the young children to brand them, beat them, God knows what else, fed them very little every day. Many of them were malnourished. So the Palestinian people are as guilty as Hamas.
And then they really hit hard with their Top Gun. Kamala, coming off an airplane, I think, said the administration should be giving more support to the Palestinians and not Israel.
They started a war. They started a war in a vicious, brutal way.
Nobody asked her if she could find Palestine on the map.
Yeah,
No,
she doesn't. She doesn't.
Palestine.
Well,
is
Palestine
up
isn't
near the
anywhere on a
North
map.
Pole.
Can I
It's
tell
on the
you,
North
Israel
Pole
people
up here.
stood
Yeah, I don't
above
see-
everyone else in ethics. They didn't have to give
don't-
that land, beachfront land.
I don't see it.
They gave to the Palestinians.
Don't
They
tell her.
gave
Don't
them
give her a
everything.
hint.
They gave them aid, everything.
Don't
and
give
they
her a hint. She'll start looking
swallowed
in
it.
West Virginia. Come on, there's something wrong with her.
Never mind.
Ukraine is a small country.
Russia, big.
Russia is a big country.
She talks to us like we're
One
5-year-olds.
is next to the other. I don't know exactly where, but it's next to the other. 63% of Democrats disapprove of Israel's actions.
Well, there
60
you go. The Democrats are anti-Semitic. They're the party of slavery. They're the freaking radical.
I don't know. I don't know.
lunatics
I don't
now.
know. I don't know
My
if Jewish
God.
people, I mean, if they feel like
They
they
used
can't
to
be
be so
Republicans,
good.
that's one thing. Although there's certainly nothing systemically wrong with the Republican Party. There is something systemically wrong with the Democratic Party.
Mhm.
That percentage tells you right there. But how the hell can you remain a Democrat? There's 63% against what Israel is trying to preserve itself from a group of people that train their children from the time they can talk to kill Jews and to preserve themselves against a country that has enormous amounts of money, enormous amounts of wealth, mostly due to the people you voted into office, meaning Obama and Biden, and they want to destroy Israel. And you made it possible by electing Obama and Biden. Obama gave them a fortune, gave Iran a fortune, and Biden has given them a fortune. And they're giving a fortune to a country that is legally committed to destroying the state of Israel.
All these hits on our military bases in Iraq and Syria are by Iran.
And what has Biden done?
Nothing.
Is he still
We shoot down some drones,
What does he hide?
which
in the
means
basement?
hit me again.
He hides in the basement.
Yeah.
That's what he does. He doesn't do what Trump did.
Worst foreign policy guy, right?
That's what Gates
Didn't
said.
Gates say that?
Gates warned us he would be wrong on foreign policy,
And Gates
and he
was
hasn't.
right.
He hasn't disappointed, unfortunately. Unfortunately, he has not disappointed.
So did you want to talk at all about the?
I did. That's why I asked you to come here.
I know. You
for.
said you
I
have a
think-
PhD.
I
Come
think.
talk
I
to
think
me
we should
about
take.
PhDs.
I think we should. I think we should take a short break, and this way you can collect your thoughts. You never really have to, and we will talk about what's going on at Harvard redefining plagiarism.
Harvard
I
in my
thought-
backyard.
I thought reading Biden's biography, I got a good understanding of a plagiarist.
That guy was born lying.
Oh no, he was plagiarizing.
He plagiarized. He lied since.
Well, maybe because he
Ever.
can't write. Okay.
All right, we'll take a short break.
Our device is something that you can plug into your television, and now you can use your television as a social television type experience. So in the Portal universe, you can watch your favorite content creators' videos, live streams, music. We also have TV subscriptions as well.
TV
so
subscriptions.
you can also
regular channels, all the sports.
Right, you can actually cut your cable from your cable subscription and get QUX TV on our QX TV boxes, and you can pay half the price that you're currently paying for your cable television subscription, and you can get all the best premium TV channels and more. I mean, it's really, there's so much on there, Rudy. I mean, you've seen it.
No, I've seen it and I use it, and it's good. I mean, it's just exactly the same except for half the price. Plus, nobody is finding out what I'm watching, and that's not being reported to anybody.
Right, so you have absolute privacy using this device, which you don't have on other devices out there currently on the market.
This is absolutely great. QUX.TV is how you can find out about it. QUX.TV.
Use promo code RUDY to receive $30 off.
Hello.
Welcome back to America's Mayor Live. This is Rudy Giuliani with Dr. Maria. Now, you know the battle that we're talking about. The president of Harvard, who
Dr. Gay.
seems to have really
some
very, very
issues.
harsh anti-Semitic feelings, Jewish hatred,
Mhm.
because if you say that genocide of Jewish people is only
You gotta
a
take it in
violation
context.
in context, then there's something seriously wrong with you. Now, she did try to correct it. I'm sorry, you don't get to correct it. Not when you've been running the university that has the worst record with regard to attacks on Jewish people in the country.
So let's set the stage a little bit. 3 prominent presidents of MIT, UPenn, and Harvard are called in front of a congressional committee to talk about the anti-Semitism on their campuses. Now, remember, every college except private colleges get federal money. Your taxpayer dollars, my taxpayer dollars, and there's rules to follow. No bullying, no harassment, no hate speech, all this stuff. So it looked like all 3 of those colleges have violated their agreement with the taxpayers. And the UPenn president promptly resigned the next day. 500 people from Harvard wrote a letter to the board saying, keep Professor Gay, keep Professor Gay. So to me, they agree with the anti-Semitism, some of these professors. So the chairperson said, we stand behind her. Well, through this scrutiny, investigative journalists uncovered her plagiarism, that she's plagiarized several papers, including her PhD, which I believe she got at Harvard. I'm not quite sure about that, but I believe she did. So you asked me to come on because
Because you have a PhD.
I have a PhD and I had to do a dissertation, and it's a lot of work. And one thing, you're very meticulous about citing. Now, Professor Gay, they're going to give her the opportunity to go back and cite where she didn't cite.
How many years later?
I'm not sure, Rudy. I'm not sure, but I've never heard of somebody being able to go back and change that. But, just to let people know, when you do a dissertation, you have a research question, a problem area, you do an overview, review of the literature, and then you have your own research methodology. You do it, you have a final conclusion. So that's typically a dissertation. So I am very, very surprised. Not only are they standing by her with the anti-Semitism accusations, but also plagiarism on more than one account. They expel students for plagiarism. They expel other students. If the same
they
thing
support a
happened
president
to
who-
a Black
All
community
those
on
students support
Harvard
a president
grounds,
who did it.
yeah, well, that's the thing. Politics aside, it doesn't matter how I vote. I support every president because I want him to do good, because I live in this country. My children, my grandchildren live in this country. But we've known President Biden to be a liar and a plagiarist his whole career, ever since he's been in the
Sam
spotlight.
Donaldson pronounced way back in
87,
1988
88, yeah.
that he could never run for president because he was so dishonest.
Yeah, he was in New Hampshire, and he picked a little fight with somebody in the audience who kind of questioned his brightness and questioned his honesty. So Biden at the time, 1988, fires back. He was running for president and says, I was top of my class. I got scholarships. I did this and I got this medal. 100%
I have
lies.
5 degrees.
100% lies. Sam Donaldson, I think ABC, said, this guy's got to be out. We can't have a man of this low character as a president. He'll never run for president again. And he continued through his whole career lying. And of course, we see with his shady business dealings, selling his office with his son and his brother. All that's coming to a head now.
I wonder, there's no question that Barack Obama knew everything about his dishonesty. Otherwise, his intelligence service is even more worthless than it seemed to be.
Well, you know what I heard on that today? That Barack Obama definitely, him and his administration were absolutely concerned about Hunter being on Air Force Two, going to all these foreign countries with then Vice President Biden, but they had misplaced. Here's the thing about emotions, right? Apparently, it was near the time Biden lost his son, Beau. So everybody thought, well, the kid, meaning Hunter, is offering some solace to his dad. It's a tough time, which I always say, I was a leader 30 years in healthcare. You got to put what's right above emotion and what's ethical and sometimes what's optics. To have your son going to all these places with you doing business deals, Obama should have shut that down immediately and still had empathy for Joe who lost a son. You can do both.
He let it go on forever and ever and ever, well after Joe was traumatized by the loss of his son. I mean, he plays on it so much. He uses it so much. He lies about it so much. He talks about his son being killed on the battlefield, that it's hard to believe that he's that traumatized by it. It's also hard to believe he has any real human feelings when he won't recognize his granddaughter.
Well, through public pressure, apparently they have.
They have not. I mean, they have. He said, she's my granddaughter. I haven't seen her. They put out 6
I can't
Christmas
get worried about that.
Oh, I get
so
worried
much.
about it because they keep saying about Trump what a bad guy he is. Well, in comparison to Biden, Trump is a great guy.
I worry more about that southern and northern border. You should be worried being in New York. Buffalo, New York now is a hotbed.
I think his character
for some of the terrorist watch list people coming across.
His character has a lot to do with a lot of the people
that is true. But I'm not going to get into the minutia when there's.
I don't consider it minutia. It is not a
we'll
president's
agree to disagree.
A president's character.
As colleagues.
A president's character is not minutia.
No. I'm saying on that particular.
The same thing that has him do that has him turn his back on Americans on the battlefield, and he leaves them behind. It has him turn his back on Afghanis who put their lives at risk to save Americans who get slaughtered with American arms that he gave to the Afghanis. This guy gets away with murder, and you let him get away with it. I'm talking about you who voted for him.
Everybody just turned around and looked.
I didn't give him to you. You did. Whoever voted for him, and the damn press gave us.
We
this
all knew
guy.
Joe Biden's character. Come on.
Every family who lost someone in Ukraine should be angry at you because they wouldn't be dead if Trump was still in office. It's a simple fact.
Does anyone get a pass for the way the media censored, for example, the information you had on the hard drive? Do they get a pass because the media covered up some of the most critical pieces of information?
They shouldn't get a pass. No.
They all got a pass.
But they shouldn't.
Nobody's been prosecuted for it.
I'm embarrassed with our media.
I mean, how about the 51 intelligence guys who I just saw Leon Panetta on television? He's one of the big fat liars.
Oh, Leon Panetta, can I reach out to you? Apparently, you were very, very good friends with Mayor Giuliani.
We were friends.
You guys worked on stuff. You lied. You must have known you lied signing that thing saying it had earmarks of Russian disinformation. So please be a man and call Mayor Giuliani.
No. How about you go on television and explain how you were hoodwinked into doing it? Maybe you shed some light.
Maybe they threatened
on
you.
Who the criminals are here. Did they threaten you? Did they mislead you? Did they give you false facts? And who is it that did it? Because that person should be completely stripped of whatever security clearance they have and possibly even prosecuted. This isn't about friendship. It's about our national security. And when you got people like the 51 who signed that, and they won't come forward and fess up to it, got to mean our national security was in terrible shape when you people were in charge. Is that why we got Iraq all wrong? Is that why those people died at Benghazi? How many people have you killed because you're a bunch of stinking liars?
And you let politics or who you like. Brennan and Clapper, to me, are traitors to this country, right along with Alejandro Mayorkas, Kamala Harris, and Joe Biden.
That's the movement for Harvard, defund. It's being led by a number of Republican congressmen and senators.
Oh, yeah, they should defund it. But it's too bad Harvard came to this, although it's been like this for a while, right?
Yeah.
Harvard's been a piece of crap for a long time.
It was so anti-Semitic, though.
Well,
I didn't get. That they were left-wing lunatics, I kind of knew that. Yeah. And that one of my sons went to a college in Massachusetts. I'm not going to name it. He went in a nice, normal kid. He came out a socialist. It's like freaking Massachusetts. What did you do to my little boy?
Oh my goodness, I can only imagine.
Now, every college who silenced and censored conservative voices should also be cut off of money. Colleges are supposed to be where your mind is open to different, whether it's you're a conservative and you want to hear a Democrat speaker. You're supposed to have a wide range of voices so the young people's mind can expand. If you use one voice that's propaganda, that's cult-like, look at how dismissive they were, meaning the radical left, during the pandemic. Any provider who spoke out against the vaccine or anything else, they went to take your board certifications away. They labeled you a quack. I mean, what's happened in our country is crazy.
Last year, Harvard got $1 billion from governments, 676 million from the federal government. So you're paying for their anti-Semitism, and 349 million from state governments. That's $1 billion from government. They're a government institution.
Yeah.
I mean, give me a break. You don't get $1 billion
you
and you're
put
not
that
a
up,
government
Rudy?
institution. I want to tell you the rest. They also have a complete tax exemption, and they're a profit-making organization.
Whoa.
Like hell, they're a not-for-profit. They made a profit of $186 million last year, and they paid 1.4% tax.
What's that endowment? It must be $1 trillion endowment.
Billion.
Well, you know, Dartmouth College too in New Hampshire has a
Multi-billion, right?
has $1 billion, multi-billion dollar endowment too.
They-
Hopefully, they're not as bad
And
as Harvard.
and they're taking taxpayer money.
Yeah.
Well, here's a question. You're both parents. I've gotten to know both of your children, and they have their own opinion on things. But it seems like, so how do you, as parents, right? What would your recommendations be on how to
Don't send your kid to school, college.
Also-
don't send them to college. Period.
Also, the one.
Yeah, go ahead. Finish your question.
No, I want to get this part out of the way.
Oh, sorry.
1.33 billion in tuition, right?
Yeah.
Billion. But you know how much of that is government money? Pell Grants and federal student loans?
Yeah.
Almost about 40%.
Wow.
The federal government supports this Jew-hating organization. And that's what it is. They're down to 8% Jewish population, and they have a history of anti-Semitism. They were anti-Semitic. They changed about 30 years ago. My doctor was a doctor who couldn't get into Harvard because he was Jewish.
Oh.
The guy who delivered my 2 children, he hated Harvard because it was anti-Jew. It was Jew-hating up until the 40s and 50s.
New York Times also.
Then about 25% Jewish, big Jewish representation. When you consider the Jews are only 3% of the population, that's a big Jewish,
Amazing.
down to
It is
8%.
amazing.
25%.
Down to 8% and considered to be by far, without any doubt, by independent surveys, the most hateful institution for Jewish people in the country, including little teeny colleges, little teeny, the ones that Harvard would make fun of. At least they have decency. At least they understand American values. At least they understand values of Western civilization, which you blew some time ago. Maybe it's allowing all those communists to work there, or all the Chinese you have working there, or all the money you get from China, who you also sold out to. You're not an American college anymore. You're an American hating college.
Yeah.
You teach hating America.
Yep.
And we're paying you to do that. We're supporting you to teach our kids to hate our country. What is wrong with us? How stupid are we? Let's grow up and be smart and defund the place and make it go fix itself. Maybe it should go away.
Congress, you're
Goodbye,
responsible.
Harvard.
Congress
So what?
responsible, right? For the
Yeah,
first
they haven't
thing?
been teaching anything but how to change your gender for about 10 years. You come out of Harvard and you know about how to question your gender.
Well, let's take a quick. Oh, sorry. Can we take a quick 15-second? You're on a roll, Mayor. I never want to stop you when you're on a roll.
Yeah,
I do want to make sure we hear from our good friend.
yeah, but time for my balance of nature.
Yes,
You get it
exactly.
ready. Come on, Rob.
Judy had
Body is an amazing chemical laboratory. When you give it the right chemistry, it functions the best. Balance of Nature is the ultimate whole fruit and vegetable chemistry.
Get 35% off your first order by using discount code RUDY.
This is Rudy Giuliani back with America's Mayor Live with Dr. Maria. It's time
Rudy,
for...
do you know I'm a tap dancer?
No, you want to tap dance?
I could.
You want to go over there and tap dance?
Yes, I don't have my tap.
When you get up,
system.
when it's time for you to leave, you'll do a little tap dance on the way out.
Well, you know why? You know these meetings where you introduce yourself, or you're working alongside people for years and years, but you're working. So you say something that nobody in the meeting might know, and I always say I can tap dance,
So
which
that's
I
your,
can.
like, fun fact. So
Yes,
you're
which
like,
I can tap dance.
we have to see that. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
This,
yeah.
This damn trial
is
better
it
be
done?
over by tomorrow. I got to get home for my pills.
You got one more left?
Yeah, I mean, you know,
You do have one left?
I kind of
This is
figured.
actually a very.
I kind of figured this case out the day it started and got assigned to the judge.
This is.
But
We gotta go.
I didn't realize I was going to run out of.
We have a very unique Christmas gift, actually. Balance of Nature, very good. A lot of people say it increases their energy. It's compressed vegetables in here, compressed fruits. Use code Rudy.
That's right.
Balanceofnature.com, code Rudy. And for those great gifts at mypillow.com, American made, American company, great quality sheets, towels, slippers, bathrobes, pillows. Check it out, mypillow.com, code Rudy.
And order these now in time for Christmas.
Yep.
I think these would look great in a stocking.
I do too. Christmassy
And
colors.
when we get and on Monday when we're back in New York, I hope, we will. I will show them the ornament that I made.
Well, I am going to let you close out, Rudy,
I
because
should
it
have
looks like
taken-
you have 3 minutes left. Is that right, Ted?
We're getting right up to
Okay.
soccer
But
time. So let's take a-
I just want to make sure you get your balanceofnature.com promo code Rudy. I want to make sure you get it in time for Christmas, because on Monday I am going to hang my Balance of Nature ornament on my Christmas tree that you haven't seen yet, but we're going to see it on Monday if they should let me out of here. I think they'll let me out of here by tomorrow.
All right, so we're going to do a quick break and come back for the closing of the show.
Body is an amazing chemical laboratory. When you give it the right chemistry, it functions the best. Balance of Nature is the ultimate whole fruit and vegetable chemistry.
Get 35% off your first order by using discount code RUDY.
You couldn't hear Dr. Maria tap because she didn't have shoes on. Am I allowed to say that? She didn't have shoes on? She's walking around without shoes on. She's going to hurt herself on this. This is a put together studio, but it still has a lot of wires and all sorts of stuff. So you gotta really be careful. Also, next week is a Christmas window week, right? Yeah,
That's right. That's
we're going to
right.
show them pictures of the Christmas windows in New York. And aside from the fact that this has not been the most friendly visit to Washington for me, except the people are wonderful. I'm talking about more the official part of it. But the reality is that you do get homesick at Christmas time for New York. I have to say that. It is the best place in America for Christmas and for Hanukkah. Now, tomorrow night is the last night of Hanukkah. So we have our candles lit. We got one more to go. And we'll see if we can do an official lighting tomorrow for the last night in honor of our Jewish brothers and sisters, and in honor particularly of those who are in Israel and are fighting for their lives.
Now, we've been in trial all week, of course, which we're not going to say anything until it's all wrapped
No,
up.
don't-
Tonight is the 8th night of Hanukkah. Tonight.
Yeah, but it ends tomorrow night.
So meaning it, okay. Great. So, of course, Mayor, we're just hitting the top of the hour, so we're entering soccer time.
Okay.
Let's do a quick. We did this last night and got a lot of great responses. So what we want to do is ask people, comment below. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We did it last night and read some interesting places. We haven't done it in a while. We have a lively comment section tonight. So maybe we'll close out on some questions as they tell us where they're tuning in from. Folks are asking a lot of questions here. Why did Harvard's president survive while Penn's president was removed?
Because Harvard is more anti-Semitic than Penn. Obviously, the board is anti-Semitic. The board hates Jews. Look, it's down to 8% Jewish. You got to work to be 8% Jewish. When you consider they were 25% Jewish, you got to work at it. They're not 8% Jewish by accident. I mean, do I have to really spell it all out for you?
That's a very easy answer.
And there's no question. And plus, the surveys that are done, they hit right at the top for the most anti-Semitic university in America.
Mayor,
gotta be a real relief for the South that used to get hit with all this. And it turns out it's the Ivy League that's got the big anti-Jewish hatred.
Mayor, I'm making dinner. What should I do? It's between chicken cutlets and fish fillets, cod.
Chicken cutlets.
Chicken cutlets is not even a question. You're talking to Mr. Italy over here.
English? Fish and chips?
Fish and chips. That's right. So ask away, folks. We're checking out the comment section, answering questions. Bring Curtis Sliwa on the stream. We need to get Curtis Sliwa on.
We'll get Curtis here. I'll tell you what.
We got a Curtis fan.
We'll do Curtis next. We'll get Curtis next.
We'll try to get him next week. We see him quite often. We'll let him know
all the time when we're in New York and we go to the studio.
He's always working.
And he always fills in for me when he has to. Andrew, by the way, if you go to WABCradio.com for my daytime show, the last 4 days, Andrew's been on because I've been in court.
Someone's asking for an opinion on Obama's Netflix movie, but I'm going to go ahead and guess you haven't seen it yet.
Nor do I intend to. Why the heck?
Yeah, we don't have time to watch many things, let alone something like that.
Come on,
any free time we have is Packer football. No,
I'd rather
Giants football.
If I got a choice between football and Obama, I go with football. Got a choice. You know what I'm really watching a lot of now? Dog and cat rescue reels on YouTube. I got to tell you, they fascinate me. The way these people dedicate themselves to saving these dogs. Rocky Tanaka, I think it's Rocky Tanaka. He's a little different. He goes in the cage with dogs that are depressed and he brings them out of it. And he's really got a great technique for it. Then there's another guy, Victor's Spanish. He's got a Spanish accent, but he speaks very, very good English. In fact, it's kind of intriguing. You know, the Spanish accent is kind of intriguing. And he does a longer version of these exceptionally complex rescues, like a dog with 2 broken legs, or a dog that's like 2 minutes away from death and is completely emaciated. And at the beginning, you see this dog, and it looks like a skeleton. And the dog won't eat, and the dog is cognitively impaired, and and then they bring the dog out of it, or a dog that's permanently crippled, and they build a wheelchair for the dog, so the dog can run around, and all of a sudden the dog is going, 50 miles an hour. Shoo! I mean, these are fascinating. They're fascinating, but they're fascinating for several reasons. First of all, you don't know what happened to them usually. In other words, it starts with them in extremis. They have been left on the side of a road. They're stuck under a building. A mother was having puppies, and they threw her out, and she goes and she hides somewhere so she can take care of her puppies and keep them safe. And then she runs out of food, and her milk isn't working, and the puppies are dying, and she's howling. And then when they first come, sometimes the dogs are scared, and the dogs won't respond to them. And then they show the operations that are done. It's fascinating. I don't know.
Those are interesting videos, and as
they're
we've
on
talked,
YouTube.
And we've talked about before how popular those videos are, and animals can be, right? Video content. We got to put more animals on.
Maybe we should have a dog co-host.
A mascot. How do we not have a mascot
Not a
yet?
mascot. How about a co-host? The dog could sit here. I mean, maybe we'll get one that can stay up here.
That takes some Mayor, can you train a dog?
These dogs that I see, they do mirror. Maybe we'll ask one of these people.
Those guys, I can't train a
we
dog.
should contact one of these people, see if they get us.
Barely take care of myself. You think I can take care of a dog?
You and I, over the weekend, we're going to contact Rocky, and we're going to try to find this Victor guy, and we're going to talk to them and see if they'd like to come on and tell us about their show.
Yeah, that would be fun. We should do that.
They're doing good things. I mean, they really are. And when you see how much, I mean, I've always loved dogs since I was a kid. But after September 11 and working with PTSD with so many of my people, you can't believe how helpful dogs are to people in depression. You can't believe it. I mean, there are a lot of doctors that believe that a dog may be as effective, if not more effective, than the antidepressants. That you stick a dog in with somebody that's depressed, you're even going to get a quicker response because the antidepressants take a while and they don't always work. Dogs just about always work, and they work real quick.
We got to hear from Steven. Those of you on YouTube, Steven is one of our moderators, Steven Schumacher. He's with us here in person. And let me tell you, you want to meet a dog person. Steven, what in your mind, what is it about dogs? The mayor loves dogs. He's watching these videos. He loves it. What is it about the relationship between man and dog?
Yeah, please, Stephen.
I don't know. I think it's a lot about loyalty and kindness and love. I think love would probably be the best and most succinct way to describe it. I love my dog, and I'd like to volunteer him for this position, maybe we can get an interview somehow.
Yeah.
He's a great dog. He's really smart, but I like everyone, I've had bad times and good times, and my dog, I highly recommend it. It was one of the biggest blessings in my life, and I love him so much. Raleigh, hope you're doing well back home.
How old?
He is a little over 3 now.
Oh, he's still a baby.
But he's smart as a whip. He's trained up good. I got him during COVID.
The mayor, yes, that would be a good dog to.
Yeah. Oh, well, Ted knows Raleigh. Ted knows Raleigh well. Raleigh loves Ted. Raleigh loves friend Ted when he comes over. We call him friend Ted.
What
he's a hound mix. I don't know exactly what type because I got him at the shelter, but he's definitely bred for hunting. Yeah, but he can't hunt. He's not a great hunter, though. We both try our best. We go into the woods, and he loves the gun and stuff. But we don't really.
I had a dog that was a fabulous hunter.
Yeah. And what kind did you have?
He was a lab.
Oh yeah.
This guy it was scary because he was at Gracie Mansion. He's about 13 months when I got him, and he started running down the squirrels.
Yeah, and catching
them. They take him away from me because he was getting the squirrels.
He was catching them. Yeah, the neighbors don't like that when they're eating the squirrels.
And by the way, really? one of my police officers used to train dogs in the military, and he said, "Oh, he'll never be able to catch them." The next day, there's a damn squirrel on my.
Yeah, people say they can't, and then.
Now, when he got to be about a year and a half, and he got fat.
You're too kind to him, probably.
No.
I think
he was smart as hell. Gracie Mansion must have 50 parties a year.
Oh, yeah.
So this guy was very friendly with people. So there was no problem in letting him out during a party. He would never bother anybody. In fact, people liked him. They would pet him. But then he'd watch. He really was smart as hell. I noticed after a while, he'd watch the people who were clumsy. The clumsier you were, the more he was on you. Like if you drop food. Like if you drop food once, he's got you zeroed in. And then
he'd be following Ted around probably.
About 20 minutes into the party, we could have 500-600 people there. About 20 minutes into it, he's got it figured out where the sloppy ones are. The neat ones, he wants no part of the neat ones.
Oh, I would.
Yeah. The minute it goes on the floor, he eats it, but he didn't eat everything. If he didn't like what you eat, he'd give you up, and then he'd go over to.
Well, he can be selective at one of those big parties, probably.
Oh, but he was always selective. I mean, you would give him certain kinds of food, he just turn his nose away.
Yeah.
And other food he would eat like endlessly.
They live good with us.
But he was a very smart dog. He was a seeing eye dog who failed out. and he failed out because he had a cataract.
Oh.
And the reality is,
So he needed the dog.
reality is that the people at Guiding Eyes for the Blind said it would not have affected him as a seeing eye dog because all the work is done with the scent, not with the eyes. But that would be strange. It would be like asking a blind person to rely on a dog with a sight problem.
Well,
and
maybe they can relate, you know. And
but I could see how he would have been a fabulous seeing eye dog. He once one time. We had a great big snowfall in New York. It was actually about the third or fourth largest snowfall in history. And it was on a Sunday. And it started mid-Sunday. And by 6 o'clock at Sunday night, we had something like 16 inches of snow. And I went down to City Hall from Gracie Mansion, which is about a 6-mile drive with a big truck that the police had so that we could get our emergency response ready. And when we were finished, we wanted to go over to the police department to make sure they had their emergency response ready. None of the cars could move. So we were going to get a big car. And then I said, let's let Goalie take us through. Because a lab is used to snow. And he did. He made a path for us.
really,
City Hall is about 3 blocks from police department. So we just, I kept him on a leash because I'm afraid he would run away. But then I let him off the leash because he knew where to go.
yeah.
And he knew what he was doing. He knew what he was doing for us. He would go and then we would follow after him.
Oh, that is smart.
So
Wow.
when I gave out awards a couple of days later for Heroes of the Snow, I gave one to Goalie.
Yes, yes. Did how
He
did he do?
accepted-
Did he shake your hand, or
He
how did that work?
accepted the award gracefully. He didn't do
Okay.
anything wild in the
Now-
room.
Goalie was a pug or a.
Oh no, lab.
No, lab.
A white lab.
There's a picture of you kissing a pug.
Oh,
That must be somebody else's dog.
I've had a lot of good dog friends over the years. I've had another dog, another lab when I was
Show a
very
picture
young.
of you. I got a family picture of you.
His name was Jesse. He was a black lab. He was even wilder than Goalie. He was a really wild dog, but great dog.
I have a picture. I'm gonna see if I can share this screen.
The pug may very well have been my former in-laws' dog. They had a pug. They had 2 pugs actually, because one unfortunately died along the way. They're dogs that have a lot
You
of,
gotta bring up a picture of you and your dog before we go. here.
because of the pushed-in nose. They have a lot of respiratory problems.
Yeah,
They're cutest dogs. They're very loving.
yeah.
This year is,
And people who love pugs really love pugs. There are people.
I'll tell
who
you,
are
the dogs that
very-
get a bad name is the
the pit bulls.
Pit bulls.
Yeah.
Picture
Oh
of
yeah. They're
people
sweet as can be
resting.
when they're trained right.
If the dog is trained the right way from birth, they're actually very mild dogs.
So, Mayor, I got a picture of you. This is going to be. We're gonna bring this up here if I can. All right, and then Steven's gonna show you a picture here of what I'm showing. This will be what we show today. It's a New York Daily News picture of you with your dog. All right.
If it's a pug, it's the wrong dog. That
It's
was
not a
man?
pug. It's not a pug.
Oh,
Take a look.
Too blurry. This is too blurry,
let me see it first. Yeah, that's my guy.
Yeah, I want to bring that up if I can.
That's Mr. Goalie.
That's you. The day after prostate cancer, you were announced that you had prostate cancer, and you're supposed to be taking
Oh yeah, there
taking
he
it
is.
easy, but you had a big day ahead of you. They said.
Yeah,
What
look
was
at
the name of the dog?
Goalie.
Goalie.
He was named after he was named Goalie because I got the dog for my son and daughter, and they had to agree on a name. And Andrew wanted to name him Richter for the goalie for the New York Rangers. And my daughter said that would be too much of a boy's name, so they named him Goalie because it'd be a more generic name. So he was named Goalie. And he loved both of them. It was amazing. At first, the first week or two, he was much more partial to Andrew because Andrew would roughhouse with him. But about 3 weeks into his being with us, my daughter got a cold, got a like a flu or something, and she had to stay home from school for 2 days. He wouldn't leave her room. He forgot Andrew. He forgot me. He forgot my wife. He sat at her bed. Every time she would respond, he'd go over and lick her. He wouldn't leave her. And also, he knew how to adjust his playing for being a little girl as opposed to a little boy.
Don't mean to cut you off. On the screen now, ladies and gentlemen, that is Goalie. That is the mayor's dog, and that is Gracie Mansion. And the caption here, I don't know if you can see it on I don't know if you guys can see the caption, but I want to read that. This is the caption reads, Mayor Rudy Giuliani, who is supposed to be resting the day after his prostate cancer treatment, is up early at Gracie Mansion and ready to go to the German-American Steuben parade. His dog, however, is taking the doctor's orders, and he's out there resting. He's resting.
I remember that parade.
You were up and at him.
You know who was in that parade?
Who was in it?
Mm-hmm.
Let me guess. This is the German-American parade.
Mm-hmm.
I'm guessing it's around the year 2000. This is your or prostate, right? Around the year 2000, prostate cancer. German parade. German-American parade.
A very famous New York real estate baron.
Oh, maybe the greatest real estate businessman in the,
I don't know if
despite what those judges say
I
in
don't
New
know.
York, Judge Engeron.
I don't know if that was the year he was the Grand Marshal or not, but he used to march rather regularly in that parade. And he was the Grand Marshal one year. It might have been that year. I'm not sure. He was the Grand Marshal of the parade. I was the Grand Marshal of the Columbus State Parade, which is the Italian-American
Oh, come on. You're the Grand Marshal by default.
In 1987, when I was U.S. Attorney, right after I had put all the mafia in jail, and it's the only time, believe it or not, with all the threats and whatever, only time I ever wore a bulletproof vest. At the requirement of the FBI. It was so damn uncomfortable. I said, I'd rather be shot. Shoot me. I don't care.
Oh, my God. At the end of a 2-mile parade.
I'm not going to wear that damn thing in a parade.
Well, they would whack each other at these Italian-American events. Who was the one that got shot?
And years later, they made much more slim, easier ones. And I would pretend to put it on to make them happy.
Oh, but
cops would go, yeah, I'll go put it on. Boom.
Carmine. Who was the one that was shot at the Italian-American get together of some event? Columbus Circle.
Joe Colombo was shot at Columbus Circle. Easy to remember. And it was, you're very good. It was a early morning Columbus celebration before the parade.
Okay.
It was part of the parade. But the parade begins with a ceremony at Columbus's statue, which is not really where the parade is. The parade is on Fifth Avenue, which is about half a mile away. But that's Columbus Circle is much more beautiful now than then.
Oh,
because a very, very smart mayor
cleaned it.
A great design for it. And do you know whose design he rejected for that parade?
Whose design for the parade route?
Yeah, of course. You know, the crazy nuts, including some that we're dealing with now. And
Sharpton?
No, you know whose design I rejected?
Design as in the parade route?
Donald J. Trump.
He had a design
for the building.
For the building. I'm thinking parade.
There were five finalists. So instead of deciding, because they were all offering roughly the same amount of money for the property, I decided we have to have a design that did the best, not only was the most beautiful, but more importantly, would enhance the real estate value around it, would help to develop it. So I appointed a committee, and I very rarely use committees. I didn't believe in them. But look, I didn't have expertise in this. I also was aware of what I didn't know. I think it's Aristotle who says the most intelligent man is the one who knows he doesn't know everything. Well, I don't know everything. So I got them together and I asked them some very specific questions, like what would be the most beautiful, what would cast the least shadow on the park, what would bring out the sort of entrance to Lincoln Center to our cultural more. I required that there be a performing arts center as part of it, so that Lincoln Center could start there. There's the Jazz Center is there now. Trump real estate had a beautiful design, except it didn't win the thing. And he has never said a damn thing about it. I got to tell you, he was one of my strongest political supporters. Now, most of the real estate people were.
Yeah,
and a couple of them
raise the
were
price
very,
on real
very
estate.
close friends.
Value, yeah.
One of whom has died, who I'm thinking about, who was the head of the association, whatever. So it really almost wasn't a conflict when I had to do that, because they were all friends.
Yeah.
But they would all, most of them would complain when I would rule against them, which I did. I mean, people don't want to believe it, but I'm about as straight as you can get, and had to be on the rec.
By the way, people do believe that. Don't.
Boom. It had to be 100%. So I had a lot of them, they wouldn't get angry, but they made wisecracks.
Yeah.
I had a better design.
Yeah.
It was more childish.
Competitive. Yeah.
More, then they really accepted the fact that I wasn't like the prior mayors. You know, if they tried to give me money, I put them in jail.
Well, that's probably why I insulted them more. They know you were picking the best design.
Well, I came there. I scared the living daylights. I put a lot of their friends in jail.
Yeah.
So, but they would complain like little baby. My design was better. Trump didn't say a word. I had ruled against him. I had ruled for him and against him on projects. I remember another project where he wanted to build 104 stories, and everybody came to me and wanted me to oppose it. And the city had no real reason to oppose it. And I asked my chief lawyer to look at his air rights. Were they put together legally? If they're not, we'll challenge it. If they are, my lawyer comes back and says, he's got Sandy was his lawyer, is the best real estate lawyer in the world. And he did this, took 10 years to put these together. It's flawless. The case, they're going to lose. Walter Cronkite was challenging it. And I said,
let me guess, Walter Cronkite had a condo next door.
Yeah. I mean, they blocked their view. So they came in and they're telling me how terrible it is that he's blocking their view. And, a lot of people believe, well, you did this because you like Trump. I would have opposed it in a second if I had to.
Yeah.
I said, well, first of all, he legally put these together.
Yeah.
And second, I just don't get sympathetic if somebody blocks your view in Manhattan. The one thing you got to know about Manhattan is they build high buildings. It doesn't mean because it's open when you move in, it's going to be open forever. We've been building high buildings for years. And it happened to me in a building that I was in. And I got to tell you, I was really angry about it. But I said to I had like a view of the East River, and they took half of it away with a new big building. All my co-op people were against it, and I was against it, but I wasn't going to join any protest. I said, "You bought into this in Manhattan. you want an open view? Go live in the country.
Go get a house on the hill."
Yeah, I mean, we build high buildings in New York.
I was going to suggest living on the waterfront. If you live along the waterfront in Brooklyn or something. That's if you want to guarantee a view that stays open.
Somebody could squeeze in a little building up there. You just better watch out. These people. You know the financial center downtown that almost went under on 9/11 is built on reclaimed land. When they soil.
Yeah.
When they dug out the World Trade Center, they built 2 more blocks in New York.
Wait, what?
I'll take you down where Andrew lives. Where my son lives.
That's post 9/11?
Where Andrew lives was probably 40 years ago part of the Hudson River.
No, you're literally like after 9/11 is when it.
No, before 9/11.
Oh, okay.
Back in the 60s. And
when
70s.
They built the World Trade Center originally.
I have no idea how deep that was.
Yeah.
I watched it being built and I watched it go down. I had an office right next to it, an undercover office, when we were investigating crooked cops, and we used to meet our undercover people there. And I would go there about 2 or 3 times a week, sometimes late at night. And I would always look down and be amazed at how deep it was. It's about 6 or 7 stories into the ground. If you go to the museum, I think the museum goes down to the bottom.
And that is something that.
If you go to the 9/11 museum, you'll get an idea of how deep New York is. What you won't see there, because some parts of New York, it's a mini Rome in the sense that if you dig down, you're going to find old New York down there.
A whole other city. And I want to.
Not all over. It depends on where you dig.
Yeah.
How old it is. Like the further north you go, the newer it is.
Yeah.
When City Hall was built in 1800 or so, they made the front of it facing south or facing colonial New York, beautiful marble. The back is sandstone because they wanted to save money. And the architect says, well, nobody will ever live back there. Of course, the biggest city in the world is now back there. When the cardinal at the time in the 19th century wanted to move St. Patrick's Cathedral to 50th Street, They said he was crazy. He was nuts.
Way out of town.
He's gonna
way uptown.
It's gonna be a waste of money. It's way out of town, and of course, it's probably the most valuable real estate in the world. It's
Midtown,
right next to 30 Rock, right next to the tree, right. It's in the middle of everything.
Not far from WABC.
Not far from anything. I mean, it's just in a way, it's in the center of New York.
I look at it as a center.
When it was built, it was farmland.
That's amazing.
New York is really old. New York is City Hall South.
Really? That's so small.
St. Paul's Church, City Hall, St. Paul's Church, which was a chapel for Trinity Church. St. Paul's Church is the place where George Washington prayed right before he took the oath of office as the first president of the United States. The pew is there. Is
that the one with the cemetery?
That's the one where they both have cemeteries.
Okay.
Trinity is the
Wall Street
parish church. That's where Hamilton is buried.
Okay.
At Trinity, and that has become famous because of the play now.
Yeah.
People go, and his wife is there, and his sister-in-law. All the characters in Hamilton are buried.
Are there? Yeah.
But St. Paul's really was St. Paul's Chapel.
Broadway or no?
It's right on
by Wall Street, which is one that's kind of on Wall Street.
It's right on Broadway.
Yeah, next to Wall Street.
As you enter Broadway, going down to Wall Street.
Yep, I know that's the church.
So
okay.
it's about an 8-block walk from St. Paul's to Trinity.
Yeah,
which is this church that is associated with. And then you make a left-hand turn, and Trinity faces Wall Street. And George Washington was inaugurated on Wall Street.
He was inaugurated on Wall Street.
Right. And there's a statue right there.
And Wall Street was Wall Street because there was a wall.
Wall Street was Wall Street because there was a wall, and the French and the Indians would come down from Canada and trade furs with the Dutch.
So that's how it became the trading center? That was the early
trade. It was originally a Dutch city.
And that was the original trading furs? Was it like a big market?
Trading center as early as 1633, 34.
And furs were the big thing back then.
Furs, pelts,
whatever.
Whatever. Yeah.
Which was furs and stuff like.
The reason New York is here is the great Atlantic Ocean flows right into the Bay of New York. Ships can come right up to the shore, including the Titanic.
I'll bring a map up. Yeah, let's bring a map up.
All of the great warships until now. The ships now are the newest. Queen Mary is too big for the port of New York, but all Queen Marys up until now weren't. The Intrepid, the World War II helicopter that served in Vietnam, also is right now a museum. But of course, it's docked right in Manhattan. So up until the recent the recent ships, and particularly the aircraft carriers, they could come right up to the shore. John F. Kennedy, for example, which is a newer, has to stay out in the bay. So when John F. Kennedy comes to New York on Fleet Week, you've got to take a boat out there. But if it's a smaller, older aircraft carrier, it can come right up to the water. Also, Brooklyn has a somewhat bigger port than New York. You can put even bigger ships in Brooklyn. But all of the every Sunday, you're going to have 2-3 cruise liners going out of the port of New York, and it comes right up the water level, right up to the street is very, very high.
Wow, so we have a map up right now.
Fall in there, you could drown. You're not going to be able to stand. Oh God, yeah, throw themselves into
what?
The water.
Oh, you're talking about people jump off the bridges all the time.
They like to jump off the. I mean,
what?
No, every year. I mean, we must have. My uncle did 4. Took 4 people down at different times from the top of the Brooklyn Bridge.
As a police officer.
The last one he was a police officer with emergency services. I don't know if it was 3 or 4. I think it was 4. But the last one was on his last day in service.
Which is amazing, by the way.
He took somebody down from the top of the Brooklyn Bridge. He was very, very good at it. And we have very good people doing it. But then a lot of them we missed. I mean, they don't. And then every spring, the the bodies come up ashore. And you find out in the spring how many kill themselves during the winter. It's terrible.
Mike, and every year, even to this day, that there's somebody that has to go out there and do that.
For some reason, it's a way people find it easier to kill themselves, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, jumping off. I mean, it's like hitting concrete at a certain height. Hitting water is the equivalent of hitting concrete.
Yeah, and also
is how they say.
I do believe that because of the height and the pressure on you, the heart attack kills you before.
Oh, in the air.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you die. In most cases, you die before you hit anything.
Not something that not a pleasant thought.
Something willing to contemplate. I mean, the main thing with a person that's suicidal is you got to get them back to relevant. You got to get them. You got to find a way to delay them. And in most cases, you're going to save them if you can delay them. I had 2 experiences with people with suicide, and you got to get them off the subject because relevancy has to return. In most cases, I mean, hey, every once in a while, there's somebody that they really are at the end, and there's nothing that's going to help them. But in most cases, it's a irrational reaction that could almost be considered like mental illness. And if you can get them back to like depression, if you can get them back to reality, they can start to realize that this isn't worth it. They shouldn't be doing this. What it will do to their family or what it will do to their children or.
So it's more, so what you're, I don't put words in your mouth. You're saying, and this is actually valuable for everyone, right? A lot of people don't want to talk about this. You're saying if somebody that's suicidal in your life and talk to them and try to delay it, because what you want to do is avoid that moment where they're like, I'm actually going to do it.
Yeah.
People may be thinking about it, but they're not going to act on it.
The moment of doing it, start to talk to them if you can about something else, or start to talk to them and start to them about the reasons for not doing it. Like hit them with the guilt what the pain they're going to create for their parents, the pain they're going to create for their children. Children of suicides have a 50% greater chance of committing suicide. What do you want to do? Put a mark on your kid? I mean, this kid's going to live forever with, am I like dad? And then it leads to a higher percentage of suicides. We can work it out. We can find a way. You got friends. You don't realize that I love you, whatever, I'll take care of you. But yeah, the person needs to be taken out of the moment. Well, that was a heck of an
ending.
But this is the holy season, so we can talk about things like this. And hopefully it will help you.
Somebody, even if it helps one person. There are
people who get melancholy at a time like this, during the holidays. Well, we'll be back with you tomorrow. Maybe I'll be able to talk a little about the case. I'm anxious to, but can't. We'll see.
Our friends are watching,
and
they're all watching. Hey guys, just want to say hi.
Guys,
hey, that's why I was saying hi.
Believe me, this is not me, but this is the court and respect for the court. And okay.
And we kept him on for a nice portion of soccer time.
And I think we got into a lot of interesting
topics,
a lot of interesting subjects. And we're going to see if Hunter gets treated like Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon, aren't we? Let's see. Things may have changed. It would be a good thing if they did. And I don't think he should be treated in the Gestapo fashion of the Biden regime. I don't see any reason to put handcuffs on him. I don't see any reason to drag him in. He could be told to surrender himself. That's the way it's done in a situation like this, not with Biden Gestapo tactics. They should be banned and gone. Well, this is Rudy Giuliani. I'll be back at 8 o'clock tomorrow night, at 3 tomorrow, unless something happens unexpected. Well, in any event, Andrew will be on, and I will stop in and say hello to him if I can. And if I can't, we'll be back on radio on Monday, but we'll be here tomorrow night, 8 o'clock, for a very special wrap-up show in the swamp. God bless America.